Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards, and this week we're focusing on pre-season drills. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be focusing on a SAQ-based drill, okay? But before we get into it, let's have a look at how many players we're working with this week and the equipment that we're using. Now, in terms of players for this week, okay, you can obviously working with as many players as you can, okay? You're going to look to split your groups into 4s or even into 5s and 6s, okay? So if you have 15 players, try and go into, you could do 3 groups of 5 and set this up a few times, okay? You could have like 2 groups of 7 or a group of 7, a group of 8, and so forth. Now, in terms of equipment, we're going to be focusing on using balls, cones, and then agility ladders or hurdles as well. And you can use poles as well instead of cones. Now, in terms of the setup for this part of the session, you're going to have your 2 ladders here, and then the gap between the ladders and these cones here is just going to be 5 yards, okay? And then you're having a couple of yards in between each cone. You don't have to have 4 cones. You could set up more if you wanted to as well. Now, players are going to be evenly split either side. How it's going to start is the player's going to move through the agility ladder, retrieve the ball, and then it's going to be dribble in and out using both feet, dribble in and out using both feet. Once they get to here, they leave the ball at the opposite side and then move through the agility ladder again. As they get through the ladder, the next player goes from the other side, they move through, then they will dribble, then they will dribble through, they will dribble through, leave the ball there, get themselves through the agility ladder, and then we get the same player from the opposite side doing the same thing again. Now, you can do it where for the first set, it could be that the players have to get back to their start point for it to finish, and then you could do it 2 times around, so you can try and increase the reps if you want to do as well for the players, and then if you have more groups, you can make it a bit of a competition as well. So nice fast feet through the ladder, making sure that we're keeping the heels off the ground, we're pumping the arms, okay, we're not bending over as well, okay, so we're not getting ahead of ourselves, okay, so keeping the back straight as well. When we retrieve the ball, okay, making sure that we're using both feet, maintaining control of the ball, whilst also moving at a steady pace as well. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Okay, now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now going to focus on more of a conditioning based drill, which is going to be focusing on accelerating into space, both with and without the ball. Now, in terms of the setup, okay, for this part of the session, we're going to have 30 yards of depth, okay, and then you're going to have 15 yards of width, okay. Again, the players are going to be split into, like I say, if there's 4 players in each group, you're going to have them in 2 each side. So then if you had 8 players, you could just literally have the same thing working the opposite way. So the player is first going to sprint, okay, and they're going to sprint out and around this cone, out towards this side, retrieve the ball, and then they're going to do the same thing on the way back, drive with the ball, then they're going to leave it there, move to the back of the queue, and as they get back to there, this player, okay, is going to start, they're going to sprint, they're going to retrieve the ball, they're going to turn, they're going to sprint, they're going to retrieve the ball, back to there, and then the next player will go again. So we're sprinting, okay, accelerating again, and then as we turn, okay, attack the space, retrieve the ball, and then we leave it there again. And then the last player there will go sprint, retrieve the ball, okay, so nice quick feet round there, maintain control of the ball, so attack it, drive at speed, but also maintain control of the ball. Again, you can choose how many reps you want the players to do. If you want to do a competition, you could do as well with obviously all different teams. And again, accelerate into space as we're approaching the turn here, slow ourselves down, okay, so we can move swiftly around the turn to then accelerate in space again. When we retrieve the ball, again, use of both feet, being able to work the ball around the pole or the cone quickly. And again, when we're trying to drive into space, don't let the ball get too far ahead of us. We want to maintain control so we can obviously change direction, okay, and always be able to manipulate, okay, the direction that we want to change, okay. Then you can obviously look to work the opposite way, so you could just swap the cones going over as well. But like you say, with this one here, not too much concern is that players are going to be still moving in different directions. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Now moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now moving into a technical based drill. So you're going to look to put your players in pairs for this one, okay? So, like I say, how many players you've got, try and set up as many areas as you can. Now in terms of the depth, okay, it's literally going to be 5 yards between each cone, so 10 yards in total. You can look to increase that a little bit if you want to as well. So a player in the middle starts with the ball, okay? They're going to play it to the player on the outside who opens out, okay? And then plays this player here who just looks to kind of set the ball, okay, to a stop. So then they're going to backpedal back to here. As that happens, this player moves in towards the ball, and then they're going to play first time for this player to open out, okay, play back to this player here. They look to set it, drop back. This player looks to move in, receive the ball, to play the ball in, and then again, we're going on the back foot, set. This player moves in, this player moves back, open out, okay, play, and then we do the same again, set. This player moves in short, this player drops back. So we're getting different range of movement, okay, with our forward movement and then our back pedaling as well. Looking to receive the ball on the back foot. So when we're back pedaling, staying light on our feet, checking our shoulders, okay, body shape to receive, and then opening the hips out when the ball comes in to take the ball across the body, okay, to then look to play forward. After a set amount of time, you're going to swap and go the opposite direction instead, okay? So the players can obviously be working on receiving the ball on both feet as well, okay? So focusing on his execution of those passes, okay? And then moving into space, okay? And away to receive the ball quickly. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. Don't forget to head over to our website where you can sign up to view over 1,000 session plans like this. And we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.